We outgrew the backyard, so we're heading to Brook Hollow Park for a new, larger-than-life adventure. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and this is our ultimate beginner's guide for Obsidian Entertainment's latest multiplayer survival game, Grounded 2. During the height of COVID, Grounded became one of our absolute favorite games, and if you've been following this channel for any stretch of time, you'll know that we covered its early access release extensively. We have hundreds of hours in the backyard, and today, we're bringing that experience to Brook Hollow Park, an entirely new adventure with more twists and turns than ever before. We'll talk about new systems, tips and tricks, and how to survive the many more challenges in front of you. This video is for everyone, including Grounded veterans, as well as new players checking out the series for the first time. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Everything in Grounded 2 starts with the Omnitool. This is a new system that aims to streamline the typical survival experience, taking the axe, hammer, shovel, and wrench and merging them into one tool. Regardless whether you love or hate the system, it's important to understand how it works. Following the main quest directly after the tutorial will lead you to a ranger station, important hubs scattered across the park. Inside, you'll pick up the Omnitool and have instant access to your first tool, the Omni Axe. This level 1 version of the tool allows you to chop and gather basic resources like grass, dry grass, and dandelions, just to name a few. However, the Omni Axe and all of the other tools you unlock will need to be upgraded if you want to take full advantage of all the resources scattered throughout the park. In order to unlock new Omni tools or upgrade any of the 4 Omni tools, you'll need to gather resources and take them back to any of the ranger stations. So long as you have the resources required, you can unlock a tool or upgrade your existing tool. Once you have the Omni Axe, Omni Hammer, and Omni Shovel unlocked, you can effectively gather most of the items in the park, and all of those resources will help you build your base, craft new gear, and ultimately help your progression. Grounded 2's ranger stations are good for more than upgrading your tools. In fact, each station also has an analyzer inside, and early on in your adventure, using this frequently will be critical. As you gather resources and defeat bugs, your inventory will overflow with all manner of organic and inorganic material, most of which can be analyzed. Analyzers work off a charge system, and at full charge, you can analyze 4 items at a time. Whenever you analyze a resource, you'll unlock a series of recipes or blueprints associated with the item. For example, analyzing a blade of grass unlocks the most basic tier of grass base building materials. Likewise, if you analyze a weed stem, which you also have to carry to the analyzer, you'll unlock the critical foundation pieces necessary to building a sturdy base. Analyze everything, and often, and if you have a wealth of resources, you can always travel to other ranger stations as each analyzer is independent from one another. As you analyze resources, you'll also gain brain power, which is an overarching experience system that levels up after you've analyzed enough resources. Every time your brain power reaches the next level, you'll unlock a set number of recipes, and this works as a stopgap system to ensure you don't miss out on critical crafting items or blueprints. It is very possible you miss a key resource during your exploration, and the brain power system helps alleviate that. One of the most daunting things about Grounded 2, like many survival games, is the freedom to practically do anything, almost from the onset of the game. But when you're the size of an ant, that can be a little intimidating, especially when new bugs like cockroaches and returning bugs like the praying mantis could be lurking around every corner. During the first day, your goal should be to follow the main quest until you get your first Omni tool, the Omni Axe. This will allow you to start gathering basic resources. You'll want to keep following the main quest, which will take you to a hill behind the ranger station. This will eventually drop you into a small underground area and the backside of the ranger station, where you'll meet one of the main characters of the game, which we won't spoil here. At this point, keep following the main quest, because you really don't have enough at your disposal to take on the park yet. Your quest will lead you into the Snack Bar Anthill, which is where you'll face your first red soldier ant. Make sure you have some sort of weapon crafted before you reach the final chamber, where you'll find your first optical disc. These are crucial progression items that, once inserted into a ranger station, allow you to purchase entire sets of craftables or blueprints in the science shop. This disc, the Snack Bar Turbo Optical Disc, gives you access to the hatchery, Cooking 101, multi-story bases, clover roofs, pebblet foundations, and fibrous furnishings. That is a huge offering of new crafting recipes and blueprints, and while you won't be able to purchase all of them at this point, we strongly recommend you pick up the hatchery. One of the most exciting things about Grounded 2 are the Buggies, bug companions that you can ride and utilize in combat and exploration. Once you research the hatchery at the ranger station, you'll now have the ability to unlock your first buggy, but you're still a few steps away from actually having a mount. For starters, you'll need to build a hatchery, which is where both bug eggs currently in the game will incubate before hatching. We highly recommend you place this directly on the ground, not on any flooring within your base, because at the time of making this video, the buggy system was, well, it was still buggy. Once you do that, you'll also want to place an ant nest, which is where you'll store your first buggy, the red soldier ant, when you're not using it. Just north of where you first entered the park is the hatchery anthill, and this is your key to getting your first buggy. However, you'll want to come prepared, as fighting through this anthill won't be nearly as easy. In fact, you'll want to make sure you or your group, if you're playing in multiplayer, has some sort of armor, the best weapons you can craft, and torches, as this anthill gets incredibly dark at certain points. Inside, you'll find a labyrinth of twists and turns, but the key is to follow the red and white wire that is loosely fixed to the roof of the caves. Following this wire will lead you past a small ominous base and deeper into the cave, where you'll eventually reach the nursery. On the floor, most likely guarded by 1 or 2 soldier ants, are red soldier ant eggs. You'll need to carry this item out of the anthill and get it back to your hatchery, which is easier said than done. We recommend you kill as many bugs on your way into the cave because you're forced to physically hold the egg on your way out. Follow the wire back out of the cave for an easy exit and hightail it back to your hatchery. You will need a small array of resources to actually start the egg incubation, which might require you to venture out and gather a few items, but hopefully you have what you need. The one item you might be missing are from acorns, which you can find in the southwest part of the map near the big oak tree in abundance. Once you have the resources, pop your red soldier ant egg into the hatchery and let the waiting begin. Just so you're aware, every hour required to hatch the egg in-game equates to 1 minute of real time, so to hatch the red soldier ant, you'll need to wait roughly 12 minutes. However, there's a trick. You can sleep using your lean-to and skip the entire waiting process. Once your buggy is ready to hatch, you can interact with the hatchery and retrieve your new mount. The red soldier ant buggy is the perfect early game companion and truly transforms the way you play Grounded 2 moving forward. Not only can you ride the ant, but you can now traverse the world much faster thanks to its enhanced speed. You can also fight from atop the red soldier ant, dealing decent enough damage, or better yet, hop off the ant and fight alongside it, giving you a combat companion that will attack, block, and draw aggro from enemy bugs. Finally, the red soldier ant is a master at harvesting and transporting grass and weed stems, perfect for getting your first base up and running. At the time of making this video, there is another available buggy, the Orb Weaver Spider, but that's not something you'll have access to during the early game. At some point during your Grounded 2 adventure, you'll want to lay down roots, no pun intended. Base building is a huge part of the survival experience, and this time around there are real implications for building a sturdy base. See, in Grounded 2, you'll have to defend your base from waves of coordinated bug attacks. I won't say more on this issue for fear of spoilers, but this means you need to be smart about where and how you construct your base. So long as you're analyzing resources like grass and weed stems early on, you'll have all the recipes you need to build a functional base. But there's something you need to consider first: location. Brook Hollow Park is massive, and there are really 2 things to consider when choosing a base location, especially with defense as a consideration. First is that you want your base elevated. This means establishing your foundation on a rock, log, or other part of the park that allows you to build your first floor well above the ground. This matters for a couple of reasons. First is it avoids you having to deal with the natural geometry of the world. By elevating your base, you have near limitless freedom to place floors and walls without having to adapt to the terrain. Second, it will eventually give you better access to different parts of the park, especially once zip lines or even flying mounts get added to the game. The former is something we know is coming based on the original Grounded. Finally, and this is specific to Grounded 2, it prevents ground enemies from having easy access to your base, which could be catastrophic. By elevating your base and creating a single point of entry, most enemies are forced to attack from that angle, making defending your base much easier. Grounded has always used a blueprint system, and that carries over into Grounded 2. You can design your base as soon as you have the recipes unlocked, but you'll need all the required resources to actually turn those blueprints into reality. One thing you'll want to avoid is building bases too big too quickly, mainly because you'll replace those dinky grass pieces with much sturdier building materials within just a few hours. There are a lot of new options in Grounded 2, and almost all of them are more visually and defensively appealing, so don't get caught up building before you've seen all of your options. I should mention that crafting does pull from nearby chests, but only within a certain radius. Make sure your chests are within close proximity to your crafting stations, and since you can, be sure to name your chests within the interface for easy recall. One thing I do want to point out is that the fourth and most likely final Omnitool you'll unlock is the Omni Wrench, which you'll need to use to repair any damaged parts of your base. At the time of making this video, repairing elements of your base don't cost any resources, but I expect that to change. Either way, when the bugs start attacking, you'll want to make sure you have two things: an Omni Wrench for repairs and an Acorn Turret to blast away the bugs in spectacular fashion. This is a must-have defensive emplacement, and although it needs to be armed and manned by a player, it cuts through most bugs with relative ease. You can even get fancy with the placement, situating these on slightly angled ceiling pieces to give you a better angle towards the enemies on the ground. One of the biggest changes with Grounded 2 is the gear system. No longer do you have a wide variety of random weapons and armor, none of which really go together or enhance your playstyle. Instead, now you have more traditional RPG gear sets infused into a survival experience. What I mean is this: as you defeat and gather bug parts, you'll take those back to the analyzer and learn to craft dozens of different armor pieces and weapons, and each is designed to work with a specific playstyle. For example, the red ant armor grants you two effects. First is that it increases the crit chance of your last hit in a 3-hit combo per piece of red ant armor you're wearing. Second, it reduces the stamina cost of attacks made with weapons utilizing red ant parts. This set is designed for rogues. By comparison, the Ladybug armor set gives you a different set of buffs. First, increasing the amount of threat you generate while wearing the armor, and second, by reducing the amount of stamina drained when blocking. This set is designed for fighters. There's also Ranger armor, like the Grub set, which increases the damage dealt to enemy weak points, while also increasing the speed of your charged attacks. Finally, there are mage sets like the Butterfly armor, which reduce the stamina cost of magical staff attacks, while also giving your perfect blocks the ability to create a temporary shield that reduces incoming damage. Each set is designed with one of those 4 archetypes in mind, and you'll want to be smart about how you outfit your character, especially in multiplayer where you'll want to work with your team to fit a variety of roles. There are also trinkets, which allow you to further lean into those archetypes, enhancing different aspects of the 4 traditional roles, while also sometimes throwing something new into the mix. For example, and to slightly tease ahead to later in the game, there's the Volatile Capacitor trinket, which adds shock damage to all of your melee attacks, while also giving you the chance to overload specific bugs. As more content gets added into the game, expect many more sets of armor and weapons to further push the boundaries of these 4 archetypes, and possibly expand into new territory. So there you have it, everything you need to know as a new player in Grounded 2. Remember, this game is dropping into early access, so things can and will change, but we'll be here with you every step of the way. As always, if you appreciate videos like this, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.